They said the secret of steel carries with it a mystery. What is stronger, the hand that welds the pen or the pen itself? Because in the world of fountain pens, that's a question that hasn't really been answered. The difference between gold, the difference between steel. And can steel actually replace gold in something as important as a flexible fountain pen nib? Well, today I'm here to try to answer that question as we take a look at the BlueDew Crystal Fountain Pen with its wet noodle. And I will give you the background of the company BlueDew, and I'm also going to demonstrate this nib in real time to see how it does. So join me today, won't you, as I try to answer the riddle of steel. His name is Jeffrey Lim, and he is a graduate of the National University of Singapore, where he studied physics because, of course, he did. He is also a passionate lover of fountain pens, and when he was young, he was part of a community that believed that fountain pens could be more than what they were, that they could approach the greatness of the past and have the sort of nibs that our grandparents wrote with. He founded BlueDew in August of 2020, shortly after his father passed away, and this company is in many ways a tribute to his father. And they are also a continuation of an idea, because more than a decade ago, there were people experimenting with steel nibs, cutting them, modifying them, trying to make them softer, trying to create flex where it wasn't supposed to exist. And what they discovered quietly was that steel could be pushed much further than anyone had ever imagined. But that idea stayed dormant until now. See, personally, I have always loved BlueDew's fountain pens. I love that they had flexible nibs at a very affordable price. I sort of rank them roughly equal to Fountain Pen Revolution, and I just love that you can try it without putting out too much money, that it's very accessible for anyone to get that feeling of flex and to have a different writing experience. Now, my results with flex are mixed, to be honest. I am not a calligrapher. My handwriting's okay. It's actually come along quite a bit if you've been following the history of the channel. But it's not glorious in any sense, and I often find flex writing very exhausting after a while. But I do think that every fountain pen user needs a couple of flex nibs in their collection just to try it, even to address envelopes, to sign letters, whatever. You just need them. Occasionally you want to write extravagantly, and you need one of these tools to do so. So let's talk a little bit about this crystal fountain pen from BlueDew. It's lovely. I love the shape of this. It has nice proportions. I love the gold clip, especially with Konpeki ink in it, where the little gem in the clip and the Konpeki ink have their own conversation. I'm not even sure I want to interrupt, but I do love the overall shape of this. I love how it feels really comfortable in the hand. It has that sort of Goldilocks shape, that comfort shape, like a 146, for instance, that kind of 11 millimeters or so grip that just feels absolutely brilliant in your hand when you write. And I love that. But there's other things I love about this too. It is fully capable of being disassembled. And I mean to the point where even the piston mechanism will come out. So if you've ever had ink go beyond the rubber stopper and you get really annoyed seeing ink up there, this pen is super easy to disassemble and clean entirely. In fact, I first did it accidentally where it came out and I was a little nervous, like, oh no, how am I going to get that piston back in? But you simply line it up and turn and it just goes right into the thread. It is so easy and so satisfying to clean. Also, the grip section comes apart. You can get in there. In fact, I'm kind of wondering whether or not the best way to fill this would be to fill it with a syringe so that there's no air at all left in there practically, you know, just to make it that much more kind of pressure onto the feed and really get that capillary action going. But these are just some of the things I just really love about this pen. It's just easy to clean. It's got great proportions. It feels like a quality product as well. Beautiful slope, nice point on the top. The cap has a nice ring around it, which is something that I really appreciate in fountain pens. I think they should all be protected like that. The piston mechanism feels good. There's nice metal pieces and part that make it feel like it's going to hold up. I really enjoy the proportions. If I wasn't reviewing it primarily for the nib and say this had a fine nib on it, it would already be a very impressive, very beautiful pen. But we are here for this nib today after all, aren't we? So don't be fooled by this nib. It looks like gold, but it's not. It's steel and it's plated. But you can see the cuts that give it its flex, which is really well executed. This is truly a soft nib. It also has a heart-shaped breather hole, which is a callback to a Waterman 52 from back in the day. I love that. I love the softness of this nib. And I can tell you that I would urge you, in fact, to write with restraint with this. It is so very soft that this is not one that you want to just force down onto the page, spreading those tines, thinking that it's going to keep up in that way. This is a pen with much more intentionality. You have to write sort of rhythmically, slower, with a little bit more intention. Your bend should be gradual. You shouldn't crank it past broad. You should be very particular and get a sense for the feel of the flex, the different gradations in pressure. It only takes about 150 grams of force to open this nib fully. That's extraordinary. And if you're sort of a kind of bullish person like I am, it means that I really need to tone it down with this nib for it to be effective. But I also want to review this for all of us, how we interact with our pens and whether or not it's actually going to work for us. And that's why in a little bit, I am going to write and film it in real time so that you can see how it actually works without any edits or any beauty or anything to sort of obfuscate what's going on. I feel like we just need to show it in all its good, bad, and indifference and just see how it does. I do want to make a few more points about steel. The thing about steel is that there's sort of a predictability to pressure, that it responds with the amount of force that's applied to it. So it doesn't just sort of surrender, but this is soft enough that you really need to moderate yourself. So what is steel compared to the hand that wields it? So a fountain pen like this needs the right fuel with the right viscosity. So I am going to use Konpeki ink, which is one of my absolute favorite inks, and I've mentioned it already, so that's no surprise. Jeff Lim also recommends Pelikan 4001 blue ink as well. You don't want to put shimmer in here or sheen or anything that's going to clog it. You want as much ink as possible to go through the dual capillary channels in this feed and get to your nib so that you have fewer, not zero, but fewer dry spells and false starts. Now I can share with you right away, this has run dry with me. I've had it happen on the live show, so maybe you've seen that. Now there's a few ways that you can handle that. I feel like when you write with a flex nib, that it's usually something you're doing at home on your desk. It's not a pen I typically bring to work, but I like to have the ink bottle handy. I fill the pen usually right before I write with it. That way I know that it's saturated, that it's ready to go. This might be something you might consider as well. When it does run dry, I would probably fill it again or dip it or do whatever it takes to get it going. This is not unique to this pen. I've had the same issue with every flex pen that I've ever written with, except for my Mont Blanc Flex, but that doesn't flex very much. So I feel like that's probably why that works that way. So I think without further ado, we should just write with it and see how it does. So I feel like the right way to record this is all in one take, mistakes and all, and that way it gives a really honest representation of what it's like to write with this fountain pen and how it performs without anything to distract you. So I'm filming it from two different angles. You have me through the MacBook here with the MacBook camera, and then you can see right here I have my iPhone. It's going through eCam. And it is facing my desk space where I will be writing. I also want to share my tools for today. This is the BlueDew Crystal fountain pen with the Wet Noodle Nib. And I also have a shop towel because I usually make messes, big messes. It might not be enough shop towel. And I have the mighty, the invincible, the always reliable Conpecky, beautiful blue. I could drown myself in this gorgeous blue ink. And for paper, I thought I'd go with Menacene. You know, I love this stuff and I rarely use this one. It's so big. It gives me a lot of real estate to play with. So that should be brilliant. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is fill this pen, which is very, very important. Okay. Gosh, I love that blue. It's so pretty. Okay. Oh, that pen case likes to seal itself and does it a few moments after, which is always fun. Look at how well that piston clears out the pen. Do you see that? It's pretty impressive. So I'm going to do it a few times because I want to get a lot of ink in here. I really want it to have its best shot at writing really well. So, very nice action. You can hear it sort of greedily drinking it. See that? That is super, super filled. Nice thing is I don't have to worry so much about scratching the nib. So normally I'm very careful, even with shop towels, I just pat. But today we can be a little rougher. Stainless steel is pretty tough. Okay. I think the point here is not to make excuses for the pen, to let the pen stand on its own. With maybe one caveat, I just dried it pretty thoroughly. It might take a moment to have enough ink in the nib. So if it doesn't quite make the mark right out of the gate, I think I'd be a little bit forgiving. And yes, I'm writing on my old desk today. Oh, old desk. How I've missed thee. Okay. Oh, look at that. I got ink. I got ink on my pen from my thumb. You know it had to happen. Okay. So, here we go. Super excited. I hope it does well. So right out of the gate, it needs a little prime. Not totally unexpected, but this is what I'm talking about. I did dry it off thoroughly. Let's see. All right, couple ink drops out. And there you have it. Now the way I'm writing with this too is very, very light. I'm not going to crank this, so. I'm slowing down. It's all about intentionality. Now remember, I am not a calligrapher. I don't even particularly have that great a handwriting. I'm not that great at control. You might do much better than I at getting line variation and even in keeping this thing flowing. I also suspect that there are those out there that can mod this and really up its performance. I've been contacted with some people through the DMs and whatnot that have already said to me, you know, the best way to fill that is with a syringe and get a lot of ink in there. And I debated doing that for this demonstration, but I felt like I need to show it out of the box, how one would do it, rather than customizing anything, even a custom fill, if that makes any sense. See, it's actually doing really well now. It is so enjoyable. It slows you down. Beautiful scribing noise. It's not scratchy at all, which is really nice. Yeah, you can see it's really kind of lovely. Really decent effect. I mean, if you take your time and you're slow and you feel that kind of tension of the nib against the page, that sort of dynamic feeling. It's just that what I don't recommend is just cranking this. Now, I will before we stop, because I sort of feel like we have to, but it's not the right thing to do. I mean, you can even splay your tines if you go too far. I don't intend to go too far. The tines I inspected right before we did this, so they are in good stead right now. So let's hope they continue. Very nice for signing your name. Yeah, see, it's expressive, and you can dial it in or dial it out. Yeah, see, it's really lovely. It kind of puts you in this calm state of mind. There's something very old-fashioned about it. And if you just write regular and you don't really flex it, you can get some nice effects too. Oh man, I love that noise. Yeah, you see what I mean? It's kind of interesting. It's an interesting way of writing. See, it's really going now. You know? So let's try some deeper bends. See a little railroading there. But, you know, I think that's about a bold line. I think you want to keep a nice angle. It's really nice. I think the trick is staying disciplined. And I kind of worry about them a little bit because this is a kind of pen that's probably going to inspire a lot of returns. I think a lot of folks that kind of have heard that vintage flex, you can just sort of flex like a madman, may do so and run into some trouble. I really feel like the most important word, I'll write it here, restraint. Hold back and you will be rewarded. That's my opinion. But you can see you could write a whole letter with this very effectively. I just feel like I'm not doing it justice at all, but I also have a bit of handwriting dysmorphia because I never think anything I produce looks particularly good. I think it's just sort of the critic inside me. Doesn't give me too much of a break. It's a lot of fun though, isn't it? I could keep going, but I think I've shown enough. I don't know. What do you think? It got off to a bad start, but I don't hold it particularly against it. I probably should have primed it. I usually do that with any pen I fill. I did dry it pretty thoroughly, but once I did prime it, it held in there. You know, we had a little bit of railroading, but I feel like I was pushing it too far. But hey, you know what? I really don't want to make excuses for the pen or for myself, really. This is filmed as it happened. So I almost thought I didn't hit the film button if you saw me freak out for a second there. I honestly felt like I forgot to hit record, which I have done. But that would have been terrible, but I did. So this is what it is. Take from it what you may. And if you have any questions, please just ask them in the comments or hit me up on email. I'd love to answer your questions, but it's a lot of fun. I really enjoyed writing with this. It really does flow amazingly well. I wrote some letters earlier today to some pen pals in my pen pal group in the members. So they will get those soon as well. So let's go back to our regular segment. So let's speak a little bit about the value. I think it's very important. The pen itself cost about $130 US at the time of filming, not including tariffs and whatnot. The Wet Noodle Nib is $45, which is an incredible bargain, really. The nib itself is spectacular. If there was anything at all I would change on this pen, I would want an ebony feed with the most generous flowing capillary channels that have ever been imagined. That would be brilliant. So that's a lot of treasure, really, let's be honest, but it does give you something extraordinary. It's an absolutely extraordinary flexed nib that feels very much like the vintage nibs of old. And it's in a very beautiful, easy to clean, well-engineered, high quality package. So I think if you want to try this kind of writing, this is a fantastic option for you. It is an absolute pleasure to write with, even when not flexed, due to its proportions, its balance, its feel. Now, I do wish there was more flow here. I wish that I could write with more abandonment. But that's not what flex writing is about. It's really about intention, about slowing down, thinking about what you're doing, and really planning out those lines and the pressure and the flow. Something I am not particularly good at. So I ask you, what is the riddle of steel? Well, it's not the steel, it's the hand. It's the hand that guides the pen. And I guess it's the mind that guides the hand, that guides the pen. Once you're in balance, once you're unified, you feel calm, you're in the moment, your ideas are flowing, the words are simply flowing onto the page in those delightful loops and ties and knots of cursive hand. There's no other feeling like it. This is another tool of expression. This elevates writing. It's not just a single line, but a gradation of line from extra fine to broad and back again. And in any combination that you wish, as long as you have the technique. It's really sort of magical, and it's something to aspire toward. And I think that's why when we see people with extraordinary handwriting, something that seemed to come so easy to our grandparents, seemingly, we see what they left behind. And I know Jeff Lim did, and that's why he created this pen, which was one of the reasons I got into fountain pens to begin with. I wanted to have vintage style handwriting. Does this pen do it? It comes really close. When this pen is writing well, there's a few euphoric feelings like it. It's one of those things we really strive for in our fountain pen journey. When it runs dry, it's stunningly disappointing. It just cuts off all your trains of thought, derails them all in shattered pieces. But is it worth it for those moments, those peaks, those highs, that feeling when it's going well? Yeah, it's probably worth it for me. But you really need to make your own decision. So what do you think of the BlueDew Crystal Fountain Pen with the Wet Noodle Nib? Is this a pen you would consider investing in? Is it a pen that you're curious about? Let me know in the comments. Did you enjoy this video? I certainly hope so. I had a blast making it. I make videos like this all the time, so please subscribe. I'd love to have you on this journey with me. From the fountain pen, we can go anywhere and everywhere, and we do. And if you want to help the channel even more, I have membership as well. Love to see you behind the scenes. For Illuminati and Cognoscenti members, we have a pen pal group you could join as well. So I will see you very, very soon. I can promise you that, further up the road. So take care of yourself and keep writing.